In this video, I'm going to be going over 3 very commonplace mindsets with regards to fitness and why they will always be barriers to great fitness and great progress. So if any of these resonate with you, I'll say it on the front end. It's helpful for me if you like, save, share the video. So I'll promote that on the front end. And I would say it's probably very important if you are the type of person, if you kind of gulp when you're hearing this, that's okay. These are all mindsets we've, stepped into from time to time, so it's all good. But if it does give you that sensation like, oh gosh, this person's speaking to me, then it's probably really important to sit with some of these things and push on your own preconceptions. So anyways, the first one is I've tried everything. The I've tried everything mindset. What's funky about this and why you should push on this is that when you say I've tried everything, it's acknowledging that you know all of the approaches. So I'm not getting the fitness I want, but I promise I've tried everything. Now, in my 10 years of experience and thousands and thousands and thousands of conversations around fitness and nutrition, this is never true. It is never true that the people who say I've tried everything have actually tried everything. Most commonly, this means, I've tried Pilates, I've tried a cycling class, I've tried the boxercising class, and I've tried the HIIT class, right? And so if you're thinking to yourself, that's everything, you're leaving a ton off of the table. Have you read a, plethora of books? Have you tried lower stress approaches to fitness? Not just what we perceive to be low stress, light jogs and yoga. Truly low stress approaches to fitness. Have you, again, I've tried keto, I've tried paleo. Well, those are not the only approaches to nutrition, right? So it's an egotistical mindset. I know everything. And I truly believe the best progress and the people who achieve the best progress are able to push on that and stay curious. I want to know more. Is there something I've left off the table? So that's really all I want to say on that first one is push on that. If you're saying, I know everything, I've tried everything, you're actually letting yourself and pushing yourself to stay stuck. And it's more of a mindset of like, I'd rather pout and complain than genuinely try to push to make some progress. So again, if that's a tough one to hear, sit with it. Maybe you need to pause this and take a breath. But it's all good. I think we've all been there, but we can always learn a little bit more. We can always push a little, put a little further, dig a little deeper. The second one, and again, this is all, within the context of fitness, is I need to get a little fit before I start X. This is most commonly I need to, do a little something before I step into a class, before I hire a trainer, or whatever the, traditional kind of, approach to fitness you're aware of. But even if you just sit there for a second, it's a bit of a silly mindset because I don't know if there's any other practice where we have that mindset. I'd like to start drawing, so I need to do drawing before I draw. Well, that's the whole deal with progression is if you want to get better, and this is maybe, this is definitely my own context as far as, getting a degree in guitar performance. If you want to get better at this thing, you just got to put the guitar in your hands and accept that there's going to be some moments where you aren't feeling great, where you are very blatantly a beginner. And that's all good. I personally have learned to love my beginner phases because I know what comes on the back end. And if you can just take a deep breath and be okay with being a beginner and give some, earnest tries to the, whatever pursuit you're after, and be okay with the stages where it's a little funky and you've got to, work through it, that's okay. Now, I will say the traditional approaches to fitness make us feel so anxious, and fitness in general, because so many people have an attachment to aesthetics and their bodies, that it can be extra tough to approach, but it is a silly mindset. it kind of comes back to the first one. Well, I think I know how that looks and how I can get that for myself. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll try something higher level. I don't know if there's much more to go over on that, other than I need to do this thing before I do that same thing. It's a kind of bizarre kind of mindset. So it's very common, right? It's very common. How many times have we all said that? I want to get a coach, but I'm going to kind of do my own running thing first. And then I think that'll get me to a good place in fitness. You should ask yourself, how do you know that? And why do you think that? Push on your own why. Why is that you think that you've got to, teach yourself before you get some additional help? It'll always be more helpful to go to an expert and say, what do you think I should be doing? Well, you're going to look like a beginner for a while. Your first year, your first 2 years, you're going to be a little bit more in the beginner stages, and then slowly over time, you'll be an intermediate. And then more time, you'll be advanced, you'll be an expert. And the last one is I need to attain a certain aesthetic. Now, this can be presented in a variety of ways. I need to look such and such way by such and such date. I need to look such and such way for such and such event. I need to be able to fit into such and such outfit for such and such event. If that's your big attachment to pursuing fitness, you're never going to stay on track. And again, this is based on years of experience and thousands of conversations. It's just not going to work. It's not a meaningful enough connection to fitness to keep you in it. And on top of that, a lot of those pursuits, oh gosh, Memorial Day is coming up. I gotta, look good because I'm gonna be at some rooftop party, and I want to make sure my button down looks just right when it's unbuttoned a little bit way, or my tank top is going to be showing off my arms and be in photos. I got to really get into gear here. That's not a valuable pursuit, and it's also saying I'm going to try bodybuilding tactics. This is really important to note if you've ever done this. This is what bodybuilders do. This is what professional bodybuilders do, right? They pump, and then they get into this cutting phase, right? So that they can get lean and dense and hard. And it's so interesting when people are like, that's me too. I'll be able to do that. I'm looking to be a little bit leaner in 4 weeks. What have you been doing for the previous 4 years that allows you to think you'll go into some sort of cutting phase, and then that's going to work for you? So those are basically the three mindsets, or those are three maybe main mindsets that create huge roadblocks and barriers to great fitness and great progress. And again, I know I probably leave things off the table. Certainly take anything I say with a grain of salt. Feel free to message me privately. You can always email me at glufitness@gmail.com if you want to clear something up. I'd prefer not to go wild in the comment section because something was too tough to handle, but of course you're welcome to, I guess. But I think they're just concepts to really sit with, push on, get familiar with, pull on some threads as to why you might be in some of those mindsets. And that's really just my main goal, is to get everyone thinking a little bit more deeply on some of these things. So anyways, again, if you did enjoy this, or there were some helpful pieces in here, liking, saving, sharing is always helpful. And for now, just have a great rest of your day, week, month, etc., etc. Peace.